Welcome to episode 7 of our podcast. I'm Alex, one half of the Sober Experiment.
And I'm Lisa, the other half of the Sober Experiment.
So today we're going to be talking about the ups and downs of sobriety. We've been thinking about it quite a lot. So I think before we even start this, Happy New Year to everybody that's listening.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Because this one's going out today as we're recording it. So it is New Year as well. Are we the 4th of January?
The 4th of January.
How's it been so far for you?
What, January or the New Year or what?
Are they the same thing?
Well, yeah. Life in general.
Yeah.
You know what? I've got to say, I love New Year. I love it. It's my favourite time. I know that lots of people that are perhaps doing dry January go into January with the mindset of it's going to be the longest, darkest month in all year, but I actually really like it, and I love it even more sober. I really do.
Do you know what I've got to say? And I know you told me to say this, but I have got to say it. This New Year was my favourite New Year ever.
Why?
Ever.
Come on, tell us why.
I think just knowing that I was going to bed pretty late on New Year's Eve, 2-ish.
Yeah.
Knowing I was going to get up in the morning and be ready for a brand new year without that, get rid of my hangover, then I'll start it. It was just brilliant. And I went for a walk with the kids, and New Year's Eve we saved the house, we played games, they really enjoyed it. And I know my daughter, she was saying, can we go to a party? But obviously I said, why do you want to go to a party? She said, well, I quite like it, when we're all at a party and having fun. And I thought that just shows that we're not interacting enough normally with the kids, really, because she was looking for this party to be able to do that. Anyway, New Year's Day, cutting it short, she said it was her favourite because she said it was about us, you made it about us. They just loved it. They loved it. I loved it. I felt like a kid again. It was brilliant. I did.
I just think it's really nice. For me, New Year, I love saging the house. I know you said that. That's like a big thing, and it's become kind of a tradition in my house now that we sage the house and clear out all the negative energies. Because, if I'm honest, there's a lot of negative energies in my house by the time New Year's Eve comes. So
there's no wonder, because you're such a stress head in December.
Oh, honestly, I don't like December, and I don't know where it stems from or where it comes from. I think maybe from when I was younger.
Yeah.
And the build up to Christmas, I always get poorly. I always put pressure on myself to get everything right. I feel like I'm constantly all month trying to do things so I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
yeah. You've got a lot on though, haven't you, in that month as well? There's a lot of pressure on you, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of pressure. And I just think, kids at Christmas anyway, it's a lot of pressure. You want to get things right. You want it to be nice for them.
Yeah.
And I'm a single parent, really. I know we often talk in these podcasts of me having a husband, which is true.
It is true. I've just
but yeah, he's just been round. But we don't live together. So, and we'll explain that in another podcast one time.
Oh, I don't think we will. I reckon we might need 3.
Yeah, we might. But it's just a lot of pressure to get things right on my own as a single parent, I think, for Christmas. I might be overthinking it, but every December, I just don't like it. It makes me sad, and I don't just get a bit sad. I get really sad.
And I think that's really where we should start,
Yeah.
I do think we should start today talking about sadness.
Let's talk sadness.
Yeah, but let's not be sad. Because we're not sad now, are we? But I think both of us had a meltdown in December.
Yeah, we did.
Do you want to start with yours, or do you want me to start with mine?
No,
mine
you
was
start with yours. Yeah, you did have an outburst.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened to me. I've had a lot of stress at work, as you know about, which I'm not going to talk about, but a heck of a lot of stress at work. And I was feeling really anxious and miserable. And I was stood in the kitchen, I was washing up, I was having a bit of a temper tantrum at my husband, at the kids. And I felt my immaturity rising, actually.
Yeah.
And I was drying these plastic plates that I've got. And when I say plastic, they're like hard plastic.
Do you eat off them?
Well, yeah, the plates.
All the time? You actually eat off. I never knew that.
You've eaten off plastic plates.
Oh,
They don't feel like plastic.
No, they don't feel like plastic. Not that there's anything wrong with eating off plastic
I have
plates.
got porcelain ones as well.
Oh, right.
I think it all started because, well, it's irrelevant this, but they used to get broken so often because I'm so clumsy. So we just bought these plates, and they're really good quality plastic. Yeah. and they've just, anyway, it's stuck. So I only use my porcelain ones the best.
Which is why I didn't know you had any.
Yeah, well, no, you didn't know I had plastic ones.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but they take some breaking, these plastic plates. They really do. And I smashed, not even two together, just like one, like, rah! And then the other one, rah, all over the floor. And it actually hurt me. A little bit of the plastic actually cut my shin.
Oh, I remember this. I keep touching you like I'm so sorry.
It's really weird.
But I actually remember you telling me this, because could you not tell anybody that you'd hurt your leg?
No, and I'd really hurt my leg. I had a cut on it, but I thought I'm not going to let anyone see that my anger has resulted in self-injury. But I was really upset, and it was over I can't even, you know what, it was that small, I don't even remember what, but this period of sadness and anger actually lasted 2 full days of me feeling snappy and miserable and not really knowing myself. And it's got me thinking about emotional maturity. And I know we've talked about this before, but it is so true that when you start drinking, and for me that would be about 14, 15, maybe a little bit younger, you do stop developing your emotional intelligence. And I did react like my 14, 13-year-old pre-menstrual self would have done in that situation. And like a spoiled little brat. That's what I was reacting like. But you know what? My husband was really good, and he just gave me a hug and he said, it's going to be all right, you're going to be fine. Makes me emotional. And he was really sweet. He was really lovely. And I think that anger, you don't put down to sobriety. But that's what got me reading, or partly what got me reading about post-acute withdrawal syndrome, or PAWS, which you might read it as. And they reckon that these scientists reckon that when you first stop alcohol, after the initial withdrawal, the physical withdrawal has even left, it's that emotional withdrawal that's still pulling at you, basically. And how you deal with it and feeling the feelings, which we've talked about. So I think feeling the anger, I haven't yet learned, and I'm almost 42, how to deal with anger as an adult. I haven't learnt that skill, and it's just become so apparent since I've stopped drinking. I never had to deal with it before, because I went, I'm feeling in a bad mood, I'm going to have a glass of wine. Yeah,
you have that, like, what I used to call, like, the fuck it switch. So, you know, when everything's going a bit wrong, or like you say, you're feeling angry, sad, or any emotion that makes you think, oh, fuck it,
I'm going out.
I would go out and get a drink, and that would kind of, I would think, cure it at the time.
Well, for me it did, but then what would happen, as you know, alcohol being the anaesthetic and the depressant that it is, it would be fine, and then later on, after I'd had one or too many, I'd be nasty to somebody, usually my poor husband.
Yeah.
And when I say nasty, I mean I wasn't violent and horrible, even though on every podcast I talk about how I've broken something, hit something, smashed something, or found something. I'm not violent.
A little bit crazy.
Yeah, the lady doth protest too much. But, you know, I think I've not learned how to deal with certain emotions because I've never had to. And so that using alcohol in that way and using it would come out later, and then whoever it had come out on would say, oh, it's just because you're drunk.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not because I'm drunk, actually. It's because I was already really pissed off earlier on today. But then I drank, now I'm drunk, and now I'm really pissed off, and I don't actually care who I hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've lost all inhibitions, and I'm just going to say and do whatever the hell I want to do because now I'm drunk, pissed off Alex.
Definitely. Do you think sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves to not feel emotions? This is what I've thought of through December, and I think I'm nearly 18 months now not drinking, and I completely understand what you're saying, learning to deal with things without a drink and all these emotions. But I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to not feel it. We're constantly trying to not feel the emotions. So if we're feeling angry, we try and not do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? If we're sad, we try and fix it. That's what I mean. We're looking for a fix all the time, rather than thinking about what's made us angry, what's made us sad, what's made us feel these feelings. We're trying to fix instead of sitting with them and thinking. Because you know what? When we were drinkers, we had bad days. When you're sober, you're going to have bad days.
Yeah. You just don't know yet necessarily how to deal with them all, or in what is the correct emotional response.
Yeah. Is there a correct emotional response?
Well, I don't think breaking plates is the acceptable way forward as a grown adult. I don't.
The Greeks like to do it.
I don't think they all do. Here we go again.
Oh no, go on.
But yeah, I think I'm not sure. I think that's on a par with hitting something or somebody, or smashing walls, smashing doors. I do. I think it's just an immature way of reacting to a situation that could be dealt with differently. And I hold out quite a lot of hope for myself, because I'm overcoming a lot of this and learning that actually that's not the way we should be behaving. And I almost look at myself as one of my children now and think, right, what caused that? What was I really annoyed about? And half the time for me, in fact, no, more than half the time, it's not actually anger, it's fear.
Yeah.
That makes me angry.
Yeah.
Fear of what's going to happen at work. Fear of what if I, never manage to deal with my emotions? What if I never grow up? What if my husband leaves me because I'm an absolute fuck up? Like all those things. Fear gets you to react in an angry way sometimes. And I think if you could, like you say, just sit with the fear and rationalise it, because anxiety is all about what if, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I know we talk about this a lot, don't we? Because you've said this loads of times, that you suffer from anxiety.
Really bad,
now,
yeah.
And more so than you thought you did since you've stopped drinking. And I know we have conversations in the car when you're quite anxious, don't we?
Yeah.
And that's something that we do. Said anxiety is the future, it's the what if, and I suppose it's kind of learning to deal with the now.
Yeah, and I read something, and it's probably oversimplifying it. Well, it's definitely oversimplifying it, and I know as somebody who suffers from anxiety it is, but it does help me get it in my head. Depression's about the past. Anxiety is about the future. And if you can just live somewhere in the middle of them, you'll live in the now.
Yeah.
That's easier said than done, because in many, many cases, certainly with depression, it's a chemical imbalance that needs medicating.
Yeah.
It does. I'm lucky that I've avoided medication for my anxiety, even though on my last visit, my GP suggested that maybe I start taking something.
Yeah.
But I said, no, I don't want to do. I do feel I am managing it. I do feel I've got the right network of friends that I can phone up and say, I'm having a meltdown, what if this happens, what if that happens? And thank God I've got, my husband and you, my mum, who I can phone, and they'll sort of say, right, but, it's like that quote, isn't it? But what if you jump and you fly?
Yeah.
If somebody can just make you come back down and think, well, what if it doesn't happen? What if this happens instead? And you can just think, right, and get back to normal. I mean, my anxiety got to the point a few months ago. This is quite a dark subject, so I don't want to carry on about it for too long, but I do think it's important to acknowledge it. But I would lie in bed awake, certainly after my miscarriage, which we've talked about several times now, and I would lie in bed thinking, what if I die in the night? Now, I've no reason to die in the night. There's no reason, no health known reason for me to die in the night. But I would start to panic about what will happen to my kids, what will happen to my husband, what if my husband meets someone else and my little boy thinks that's his mum, and, all these really irrational things that I built up and up and up. And I'm not there now, and that's 6 months on.
And not from my advice either, because my advice, I think when you told me that, do you remember what I said to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Oh, well, it's supposed to be really nice, death or something.
No, I didn't. You rang me and you was like, I keep thinking, what if I die? And I was like, Alex, we all die.
Yeah, you did.
But we do. I'm sorry if anybody didn't know that is listening. but it is a fact that we do all die.
Yeah, and you actually said, so I think you need to come to terms with it. Yeah, all right, great friend. But in honesty, I mean, we did laugh about that, didn't we, afterwards? Yeah. We had a bit of a joke about it. But my point there, I guess, is that even in the last 6 months, I've learned to manage that. Whereas before I would have had a drink to go unconscious, so it never happened. Now I've sat with it for 6 months thinking, right, I'm going to control my breathing, but I'm not going to die in the night. And if I do, I won't know about it anyway. And then, I've taught myself into dealing with it. Now, if I'd have taken medication for it, and I'm not saying people shouldn't, because I acknowledge that many people have got anxiety much, much worse than I have and may need to do that. But if I'd have taken medication for it, for me, I would still not be dealing with that. And when I stopped my medication, it would have come back, I think.
Yeah.
I'm no expert, but now I'm past that bit. So I've learned to live with it. I've learned to sit with it, and I'm over it. There's new things happen all the time, but it is getting better, and I'm learning how to deal with it.
I think it takes a lot of practice. Like, I know people say to me a lot of the time, because I come across as quite a positive, happy person. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm always, you know, like dancing in the kitchen, singing in the car. But I would class myself as a positive person now. But that has taken practice, a lot of practice. I don't think it's easy to be a positive person.
No.
So for me, when I feel down, I spend a lot of time trying to think of the good things that are going on around me. Like the last couple of years, and I don't talk about a lot of it because I can't do yet.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've had a lot going on in my personal life around, like, with the kids and breakups and, you know, things
Makeups.
like, and breakups and makeups and things like that. But all through that time, I have looked for the good in it, and I think you have to practice that. It's not always easy to do, but I do believe, and I'm a big believer, that there is, it sounds really cliche and corny, but there is always something to be grateful for.
Yeah. No, I agree.
No matter how bad things get, there is always something, one thing at least, to be grateful for.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that being with you as often as I am, or speaking to you as often as I do, it does rub off on me, and it does resonate with me, and I do start to rationalise. And I think that that's why it's so important when you're getting sober to be part of a group or a tribe, or, you know, and by a group, it might not be a physical group, it might be the Facebook group, or it might just be a WhatsApp group, a few of your friends. It's really important to have a group of people that are going to bring you up instead of drag you down, though, isn't it?
Definitely. In the early days, I'd have been absolutely lost without the Facebook group that I was on. It really, really helped me because I was going through a lot, and nobody I knew at that time was sober. So you wasn't, my mum wasn't, and you're the two closest people to me, really.
Yeah.
So you are now, and I'm really lucky. But at the beginning, I didn't have anybody, and it was a really lonely place, I won't lie. I realised when I first got sober, and I don't know whether anybody doing Dry January, you know, this might be something that they've got to learn to deal with.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, oh, nobody actually asked me to go out. I just appear at places.
Yeah.
Nobody actually rings me and says, Lisa, do you want to go to this place or do that? So when I stopped drinking, everything stopped. My whole social life stopped, everything. And I was in quite a, obviously with everything going on as well, I was in a really, really lonely place. And I think to find like-minded people is so, so important. Yeah. And it's hard, it's not easy. You've got to make the effort to do it. You know, we can sit at home and say, there's two ways of looking at things, isn't there? I don't get invited anywhere. Everyone don't really like me when I'm sober. And you can be miserable about it. Or you can think, you know what? I'm going to find people. I'm going to find my tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
It's funny, isn't it, though? Because some things are not for everybody. Because the other week during December when I was having my low point, you said, Alex, do you think you should join a few Facebook groups just as yourself where no one knows you, where you've got people to let off your early stages, and you know you're leading this group with me, but maybe actually you need somewhere to vent and to share and to talk. And I just went immediately, no, I don't want to do that, I don't need it. So it's not it doesn't suit every single person, does it?
No, it doesn't, not at all. But I think there's just so many different options, isn't there? You know, like some people don't have friends and family that they can talk about sobriety with, because I'd be lying if I didn't say that when I stopped, people thought I was just weird. They was like, why would
people
you do that?
Think you're weird.
Well, yeah, they do. But yeah, people around me was like, why would you do that? Like, let me know when you're drinking again and we'll go out. I got told that loads. I ran a group actually, weight loss group.
Good.
When I first stopped drinking, and I was just leaving that job actually, so everybody knew that I was doing 100 days, and when I left, everybody bought me Prosecco, glasses with, what did it say on it? Something about ginning and sinning. If you're going to sin, use gin or something like that. I've still got that glass downstairs. And everybody was like, right, we'll have a leaving do for you, but we'll wait till you're drinking again. So if anybody is listening, you've still not given me a leaving do, and it was 2 years ago.
And you still won't be doing for the rest of our life if this is anything to go by.
Yeah. But people thought I was weird, and they was like, just let me know when you're drinking again and I'll see you then.
It's sad that, isn't
So
it?
it
Makes me sad that, you know, that the fact that people aren't just out to enjoy your company, they're out to enjoy pissed you.
Yeah, it's quite, I think it can
It's
be
a bit humiliating.
It is, I think it's really sad. And I remember sat there thinking, oh my God, people are basically saying to me, I don't like you.
I don't think they were though, not really.
But in my head they were, in the early days. They were saying, I don't like you, I only like the drunk you, so let me know when you're drunk again, because you're pretty boring. And I remember having to deal with that and sit there and thinking, oh, right. All right then. And that's kind of where I actively then went out to find my tribe, because as much as I love being on my own, and I crave that, and I have done all December, I've craved being on my own, but as much as I've figured out that I'm quite an introvert, I am still a little bit extrovert as well, and I love going out and socialising and meeting people. So to me, it was really important I met like-minded people.
And I guess that's where I'm slightly different in, is that it was already ready. Having you, it was ready-made for me. So Be Sober Manchester, I just stepped into. Because
it's like being a step parent, isn't it?
It
Like
is.
a little ready-made.
You did. You had a
sober
ready-made community
family.
for me, yeah. You
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
You know, like, so I guess maybe that's why I don't feel I need it, because I'm already part of it through you.
You are, yeah.
You know, it's different. But yeah, they can be quite tricky emotions, can't they, now, to deal with them. Do you know, before, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast, but I need to mention it again. If I have, I'm sorry if I bore you. But crying, right? I can't stop crying, right? Even when I'm pretty happy. So, first thing was, there was an old man, a veteran, giving out and selling the poppies in November. I took one look at him, and honest to God, I don't know what he thought of me. I just went, oh, you're so sweet. My husband just looked at me and went, what are you doing? I was like, it's really sad, and he was in the war. He's like, he's far too young to have been in the war. I said, well, he must have been in some war. You know, there was that. I didn't know I was emotional. Then, really pathetic. You know the scene on Rocky 3 where Rocky and Apollo are running down the beach in their crop tops?
Oh, yeah.
I got really sad at that and choked up, and I was really crying. And again, he said, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was like, they're older now. And he's like, yeah, what are you crying for? I don't know. It was just really emotional. And then, what did I phone you about? A song. I can't remember that.
Oh, actually, yeah, your emotions
Was it
are
Whitney Houston?
Yeah. you actually messaged me with the song and said, I really cried
It was
at
a
this.
Christmas song.
It was, and I really get this crying because my emotions have heightened as well. You know, I laugh bigger and louder, and I cry like proper, like me like make noises.
Just
and
not.
Yeah, and for the video, you could just see that was a proper ugly cry.
Mine are ugly.
But yeah, you messaged me with that song, and I listened to it, and I thought, oh, she really is bad now.
Do you hear what I hear? That
Oh, I
one.
didn't get that.
Well,
'cause I
there's
really
no wonder
like
you
that.
probably got something random.
It was a ridiculous song, and I couldn't.
Don't be looking for
I
it
won't
now.
look, but I have no idea why you were crying at that.
I bet it sent them a
one.
different one, and you were thinking, you really? No, but I'm sure it was that.
We'll listen afterwards.
We
'cause it'll
will.
be funny,
We
that.
will. But yeah, I think I can't stop crying. What is that about?
I think it's exactly what you said before about stunting your emotional growth. I think it's just what you do. Drink stunts it. It numbs your feelings. We've been looking at old pictures today, haven't we, of when we were going out and drinking. And although at that time all them pictures looked like we were having a good time, we've seen that behind the eyes we wasn't really having
like
a good
you're
time.
dead behind the eyes.
Yeah,
isn't
we
it?
looked quite sad, really.
Yeah.
But body was showing different. Does that make sense?
Your daughter, your youngest, said to me before, even though you don't look particularly happy, you do look quite excited. I said, well, I probably was, because I was about to get absolutely slaughtered.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I would have been excited at that point. I would have been really excited, because I'd have known, yes, I'm going to be out all night. Even though I've said many, many times I only intended to go out for 2 or whatever, I'd have known that it was going to be a full night out. And I would have lived with the consequences the next day and not cared. And that's no way to be, really, is it?
I'm so grateful that we don't have to do that anymore. No, I am, honestly. I have got to say, I've got so much gratitude for sobriety. And another cliche, right? Because you wear this lot and it is. But sobriety, the gift that just keeps on giving. And every day I say something like, oh, it's because I'm sober. And I wasn't even an everyday drinker, but I have that many amazing, wonderful things that happen.
Yeah.
And I just don't think maybe they would have happened, but I wouldn't have felt them the same.
Yeah.
So I think it's like what you're saying about crying. I've gone like, I'm just so happy. I cry with happiness at things.
I think we talked about, didn't we, as well, memory loss as well. Because that happens early on, doesn't it? You start to get scatterbrain.
Yeah, definitely.
But now, honest to God, I'm like an elephant, and I don't mean to look at, right? But big trunk and that. That's made me laugh. I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, a big trunk. I've only just... Go on.
But... like, I'm really remembering. Like, do you remember my Alsatian dog?
Yes, I do, because it bit my bum.
No.
I didn't like that dog. And I like dogs.
Yeah, she was really clever. I'd forgotten this. She was really clever. She used to knock on the letterbox on the front door, and I remembered that last night. When she got locked outside, she'd go round to the front and lift the letterbox up with her nose. Now, I know that's nothing to do with sobriety, but what is true is that was like 35 years ago.
Do you think you've got more time to remember things?
Well, I don't know, but either that or I'm reminiscing, and it's another thing about emotional kind of maturity and learning to grow up. And I think, I don't know. I've gone through memory loss and thinking, oh, you know, what's this? I've called my kids each other's names. I still do that, to be fair.
Yeah.
But then forgetting little things like, oh, where have I put my keys, and running round. And then all of a sudden, these quite sometimes really painful memories just pop in my head, and I think, oh my God, where's that come from? Things I thought I dealt with, you know, I've made no secret of the fact that I had a counsellor once after my dad died, and then again after my miscarriage. So I have really talked out my past, you know what I mean? I don't need, there's nothing else I can say about it to anybody. But I'm reliving stuff that I didn't even know was an issue. In fact, I'd forgotten even existed. And it happens quite a lot. And I'll just sit there all of a sudden and think about something. And don't get me wrong, I'm not in buckets of tears. But I think, oh, God, yeah, that's why I do this. Or, oh, my God, that's why I've just said what I've said. And I've realised that a lot of my actions and my emotional kind of, or lack of emotional development is from very long time ago, and things that I've either buried or just forgotten about over time.
Alcohol suppresses them feelings, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because it's a natural depressant anyway. So I mean, you've got the two things, haven't you? You've got the fact that it's an anaesthetic, so it'll stop you feeling sad. It'll stop you feeling angry. It'll stop you feeling joy, though, and that's
only
what we forget.
Temporarily,
yeah. At the time you're drinking it, I mean.
Yeah.
And it always takes more than it gives. We know that from Annie Grace. But then, you've got on top of that, you've got the depressant. You know, so it's physically numbing you, like you've said earlier on. So you've got the anaesthetic effect of actually being wiped out and falling asleep before it, and then the depressant effect of it numbing things. But it numbs the good and the bad. So you kind of feel like you're on a level, but actually you're just flat.
Yeah.
And that probably explains the deadness behind the eyes on some of those photos of us, because it's just like, I've got a great big smile on my face, but my eyes aren't smiling, or...
Yeah.
It's sad, isn't it?
It is really sad. When I looked at them pictures, it was like, I was laughing at some of the times that we'd had, like when your head was against the seat in front on the aeroplane, yeah. And, you know, we did have some good times, and it'd be wrong for me to not say, but I think now we still have amazing times, don't we, without...
They're genuine now.
Yeah.
So they're not, like, in the past, we would have done and said stupid things to make the other laugh.
Yeah.
And then we'd have laughed about the stupid things we'd done and said.
Yeah.
But now things happen and they're genuinely funny, or they genuinely make you happy, or they genuinely make you sad sometimes, you know, like, and we're living it, and we're just really lucky that we're living it together. We say this all the time, but we really, really are.
We are really lucky.
You know, I don't think everybody has that, and it is important because of this pause to find a social life. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be out partying and clubbing, does it? It might be to go running with a running club, or it might be to go to a reading club or a book club, or anything that you can do sober. That, I mean, you might be lucky, we're quite lucky in that we can go in a pub and we can sit down and have a non-alcoholic beer and not feel triggered.
Yeah, that's true. And I do think, like you said, we're quite lucky.
Because a lot of time, people, certainly from our background, their social life is about pubs and is about restaurants. And unfortunately, many people can't do that, and they lose that aspect of the social life, or they haven't got supportive friends, and you get that, oh, well, contact me when you're drinking again.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's not easy, and I don't think anybody's pretending it's easy, but it is important to do. It's important to go out and find somebody, or find a group, find an interest.
It's important to focus on the good things about it as well. And we've seen this with members as well, and we've watched members turn their mindset around from like, woe is me, to this is amazing. And I think by focusing on the good things, and it's not saying that everything's going to be amazing within the first week, 2 week, 3 week, or even 4 week.
No.
I think it's just, I think patience has got a lot to do with it as well. And you're learning about yourself. You are.
Yeah, because you've got to rediscover who you are without a false chemical in your body, haven't you?
Yeah, and that can be quite scary, can't it?
It's really scary. And, you know, and if you read enough, I've said this before, we read between us, we've read everything, and we continue to do so. But if you read about this, pause lasts for 2 years, up to 2 years. So although at the beginning you might have like a week where you're feeling down, and then you might have a week of up, and then you might have a week of down, then you might have another week of up, then 2 days of down, and so on. They do say that even though it'll get fewer and fewer and further between, that you'll have these really big bouts of sadness or anxiety or depression even for up to 2 years. And beyond that is when you should be saying, hang on a minute, do I suffer from depression? Do I suffer from anxiety? You know. But I think it's a normal part of getting sober.
I think that's good to know as well, because for somebody like me who's quite, I'm going to say I suffer from quite a lot of highs. I don't suffer from them. But I'm on quite a high a lot of the time. So when I do get my lows,
they're really
low, yeah. And I'm one that I would need to be on my own in them times. And because I'm so high and out there, I think people can't really get to grips with why I then all of a sudden go in my own little box and can't speak to anybody, or... Yeah. So I suppose that's pause then, isn't it?
Yeah. I think if it's beyond 2 years, like I say, and I know
I'm coming on to that.
You've got another 6 months yet, loads of time. But if it is beyond 2 years, you know, maybe you do have to, number one, accept that this is your personality and this is your trait, because you have now done 2 years, you've learned how to deal with things. Or you need to, you know, think, well, do I suffer from depression? Do I suffer from anxiety? Knowing you as I know you, I would say, no, you don't. I would say you are really, really high or really, really low. I reckon you're more bipolar than anything.
Yeah, thanks. You know what, though? My stepdad, who... I don't even know whether we've spoke about my stepdad Terry or not that much on the podcast, but, you know, I grew up in pubs, as you know, and he was a joyful, happy, drunk, but he actually went to the doctors and got told that he suffered with happy depression.
Oh.
I know. So I don't know whether that's a real thing or whether he was just telling us that.
He might have done. He might have put it in his words, knowing Terry.
But looking back, and because he was a drinker, he would like drink and be jolly, it'd be the life and soul. But what nobody saw in the pub is when he was upstairs, low and not wanting to talk to anybody. And I always I remember even as a teenager, him telling me that he had happy depression and relating to it.
So before you started drinking?
No, I was drinking as a teenager.
Oh. I know that.
Like, not every day. But yeah, no, drink was a big part of my life, even as a teenager. And I know we've spoke about this, but I used it, and I never knew I used it for social anxiety until I stopped drinking. So that was I'm not very good at maths. How long ago was it since I was a teenager? A long time.
Nearly 30 years.
Yeah, so I know what you're saying about being, but yeah, I'm a bit worried now. I've got happy depression.
I don't think you have. I think you're just happy, and every now and again you feel sad, which is perfectly normal.
I'm just a human.
Yeah.
I think that is the other thing, actually. We can overthink things, can't we?
Yeah.
Maybe, humans have, if you have happy feelings.
If you're happy and clap your hands. Sorry, but that was really loud on people's ears.
Yeah. But, yeah, I forgot what I was saying. You've done that to me again now. But if you didn't know happiness, you wouldn't know sadness. And if you didn't, anger, and there's that whole saying, isn't there, that I can't think of, so I'm just mumbling.
You've got to feel the feelings.
Yeah, I always say that. Feel the feels, good and bad. You're just human.
So I think that one thing that we haven't talked about here, yeah, you are just human, but then let's just think back to being younger than before we drank. Right. I think I did worry a lot as a little child. That comes from my environment, but I do think I was a worrier even as a child.
Yeah.
So because I was a worrier before I ever had a drink, maybe that really is me. So maybe this thing that, I've got anxiety, I suffer anxiety, isn't really anything other than I would have been if I'd never had a drink. Yeah. I might have just learned how to deal with it. So it's kind of like reversing now. I've gone to age 13 again, and I've got to relearn how to deal with anxiety, which is why I've had to go through these periods of lying in bed awake at night and so on, because in the past I've not had to face it.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do think that. I'm just thinking what type of person I was before. I always feel guilty.
You always have felt guilty.
Always, about everything and anything. And this, I know when people say you have children, you have this guilt straight away. But I have always had it. Like, these things, I still feel... My mum says to me, like, Lisa, you've got to get over it. But little things from when I was really young, and I put this on one of our posts, but when I was about 6, I made a mud pie. And
you do need to get over this.
I know, but I don't even know why I haven't. It's forgiving myself, I think.
Why don't you contact her and apologise?
Well, I should really.
She made a mud pie, and...
Well, I told the other girl who lived next door but one, she was a couple of years younger than me, and she said, "Oh, what's that chocolate?" And I remember looking at it, and I think this is why I feel so guilty, because I did it on purpose.
Well, of course you did. You made it out of mud. You knew you were doing.
I looked at it, and she said, "Is it chocolate?" And I went, "Yeah, do you want to try some?"
Did she try it?
Yeah, and I felt awful, and then her mum shouted at me.
Oh, I put cat food in one of my neighbours' shepherd's pie and warmed it up. And
that's
I knew I was doing that.
How old were you then?
About 15.
Oh, see, I was about 6. But no, I know
but that's because she ate my sister.
Oh, well, fair enough then.
She had a
you
cat
eat
food
that cat food pie.
No, I do feel guilty about that, in honesty. I mean, I know I'm laughing about it now. Like I do.
Does she know?
Well, she does now. No, I do feel guilty about that, but kids are cruel. You have to, you're learning. Even at 15, even at 16, my goodness, we've just been talking now. We're still learning now.
I think it's that forgiving yourself and knowing, again, that word human. We're just human. We do stuff, don't we? And things that you've done when you were drinking. I'm just going to tell this story quickly because I didn't think I was going to do, but I am going to do, because it's really awful and really bad, and I can't believe it was me, but I know I've got to move on from it and forgive myself and get on. But I was in the car with the kids yesterday, and me, Ben and Olivia was just chatting about stuff, and we talk about sobriety a lot because they're really proud of, how far I've come out, and they can see how much I enjoy doing what I do with it. But Ben said to me in the car, "Do you remember when you drove us home from Grandma's drunk?"
Do you remember?
No, I don't even remember it. And I was like, I wouldn't do that. And my first thing was defence. I wouldn't do that. No way would I do that. And he was like, yeah, you did. You drove down the back street and you did a wiggle in the car. like
with the steering wheel.
Yeah, with the steering. Yeah,
You didn't sit there doing a bum wiggle.
A wiggle with the steering wheel, and I drove us home. And when he told me that story, I was absolutely devastated. And then I got a flashback of me doing it. Now, this is the truth. I would never have told anybody that when I was drinking. I would have blocked it out of my own mind. I'd have just moved it away. And it's not something that I've sat here and thought, oh my God, I did that, because I completely forgot. And when Ben reminded me of it, I was absolutely devastated that I could do that with my own children in the car. But it just made me think, how many other things did I do that was dangerous and not like me at all? And talking about like the guilt feelings, obviously, that's even to just hear that yesterday. I feel so bad about it. I can't believe I did it. And
I get that.
No wonder my blooming kids are proud of me. I was doing stuff like that and I didn't even know I was doing it.
Do you know that?
And that wasn't every weekend, but it's things that as a drinker, I wouldn't have told anybody. And it just made me think how many other people are doing things that they are pushing down and not telling people because they're scared of telling people.
Is it shame?
And well, it is. But one of the reasons we do this podcast and we do the sober experiment is to remove that shame.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't be being fair to anybody if I didn't speak about things like that, because people do these things and we don't talk about it because we're ashamed, and it isn't all right. What I did is not all right, but it's done, it's gone.
You can't change it.
And I can't change it, and all I can do is show a better future. But yeah, it just got me thinking, no wonder I felt blooming guilty.
Does it not remind you of my story that I always tell you? When I think I drove in my car and I left my kids in bed.
Yeah, of course.
But I still don't know that because they were too young.
Yeah.
And I wrote a blog about it, which I've never published, and I'm still toying with it. But only because you keep saying to me and I keep saying to me, I don't actually know if it's true or if I've made it up. But in my gut...
Well, you could just put it out as a novel.
No, but in my gut, I do believe I did this, and I've got this vision of me, but I've got it as out of body. So you've got a picture, I'm out of body and I'm outside the front of my house looking in on myself. And I've got this vision of, I'd had wine in the house, a full bottle, I believe.
Yeah.
Ran out, and I've got a vision of my kids are in bed, 2 of them. I was a single mum at the time. I've locked the door and I've gone to the co-op, which is 2 minutes up the road. And then I don't remember, can I just make that clear? I don't remember doing that. What I remember is pulling into my drive and thinking, thank God the house hasn't burnt down. Yeah. And I've got this vision and I still don't know whether I did it or not. But why would I think it if I hadn't?
Do you think a part of you doesn't want to maybe admit that you did it?
Oh, definitely.
So you're holding on to that, I might not have done it.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? Because I think I would do that.
100%.
I think if Ben had not have said that to me, I'd never choose to remember something like that, or it might come. But I wonder if a part of you is thinking, but I wouldn't, because it makes you so different than who you are. You are not that person you are when you're drinking, and I don't care what anybody says to me. I've heard it my whole life that alcohol brings out the real you. And when I used to get myself into trouble and old boyfriends would say, well, you must have wanted to do it because alcohol makes you who you really are. So I've always thought that, and you know what, it's absolute bollocks.
It is bollocks.
Alcohol does not make you into the real you. The real you is this.
The rational you that's using
the sober you. Like, we would never do them things. You would never do that. So your rational sober side, it must be saying, but you wouldn't do that.
I think so. And I think the other thing is as well, what I used to do, and when I look back at that must have been 10 years ago-ish now. Okay, if it happened, which I think we're kind of coming to the conclusion that it probably did.
Go on, say it did, and then I'll feel better about mine.
All right, I think it did. I honest to God can't say it definitely did, because I really don't know. And if I did, I would admit it. God, I've admitted spitting grapes at people and putting cat food in my neighbour's food. I would admit this. I really don't know. But what I was really good at, and clearly I was doing it a lot longer ago than I thought, was getting rid of the evidence for the morning. So what I would do is I'd wash my glass, I'd put it away, I'd put my empty bottles in the bin. I'd always have a little bit of wine left at the bottom of the bottle, and I'd tip it away, because that would be my memory. Oh, you didn't finish the bottle, you tipped it away. It would probably be an inch really in reality, but because I tipped a bit away, I felt like I hadn't finished the bottle, or 2 bottles as it might have been, and I'd tip it away. And because I've got rid of that evidence, it just shows the fact that even in a drunk state where your inhibitions aren't, out there, basically, you're just doing what you want, even in that state, some part of me was saying, get rid of the evidence, because in the morning you won't beat yourself up about it. And I'd get up in the morning and I'd go downstairs and there'd be no mess, there'd be no wine glass, there'd be no wine bottles. I used to walk outside, put them out, lock the door. So there was some part of the real me there, the bit that would have been ashamed of that behaviour, I think. But I think the main thing is we have to move on and forgive ourselves.
Definitely.
So let's finish on top tips.
I thought you were going to say with a prayer.
No, not a prayer. Let's finish on top tips for somebody now who's dealing with pause. Getting a sober tribe's massively important.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing.
Can I throw in meditation?
Yeah.
Because for me, it's been a huge, huge help, meditation. Early on in my sobriety, I'll be dead quick, is I went to classes. They were Tuesday night classes in a village near me, and it helped me massively, because I used to think meditation was you had to sit there and forget everything. So I was like, I can't do that. I can't do meditation. But once I'd learned to do it properly, it's not about that. It's amazing, and it really, really helped me. So if anybody can find a class or download maybe an app, there's a few apps there, the Budify one, and
I can't remember the name of it.
Another one. But have a look on...
You can search meditation and it'll bring up some apps.
But even that can really, really help more than you'd ever know. So for me, I'd say that as a top tip, try meditation.
And I think just accepting that that's how you feel right now and not trying to block it out, nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever.
It passes.
It passes.
Yeah.
So if you're going to cry and you're going to have a full day of crying, well, go and cry. I used to say to Lisa, and we still say it to each other now, if we don't, and I'm on about as kids now, as 11 and 13-year-old kids, you phone up and, I'm not allowed out, blah, 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 or something like that, whatever it might be, and I'd say, ooh, I bet your breath stinks. Go and wash your face and brush your teeth. And honestly, just wash your face, brush your teeth, and let it happen. It does not matter if you're crying for a day. It does not matter if you're lonely for a day. It does not matter if you are angry for a day. It will pass and you will come out the other side. And we say this all the time, if you can get through 30 days when the physical addiction has gone, yes, the emotions are still going to be there, they're still going to be raw, but you can do it. And try our experiment. Just give it a go, because you can do it.
You can do it.
So I think that's it, isn't it, today?
Yeah, that was quite a long one, wasn't
I think it was quite a long one.
Sorry about that.
So we've got a few special guests on our podcast coming up as well. I think the next time, so not our next episode, but the one after that, we've actually got Millie Gooch on from Sober Girl Society. That's a really interesting podcast, so give that one a listen. And Happy New Year, everybody. And we'll see you in a few weeks.
Happy New Year. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.